So let's do this. I'm Bill.
Hi, Bill.
I play pickleball. Since we're waiting on a couple of people, I am really, really big on getting stretched out prior to playing. I could give you a whole little routine that we use at Lifetime, but the reality is a little dynamic stretching. Most pickleball places you go into, the warm-up is let's dink for 3 minutes, and they'll go out there and dink. If you know what dinking is, it was just hitting the ball very softly back and forth into the one section of the court. They'll do that for 3 minutes, and then they'll never do it again the rest of the time they play, and that's supposedly a warm-up. Warm-up games, I hear, I just warm up during the first game. Generally, you lose that first game because you weren't warmed up. So actually getting ready to play is important at our age. Tearing something means you're not be playing for months. So a little warm-up, some lunges, just getting up and moving around, get the blood flowing, before you actually start getting out there. For some reason, one of the things that happens is most people that play pickleball played something else when they were younger that never left our brain, and we start going for balls that maybe we could have got when we were 20, and we want to get that same ball, and that's when the hamstring or the Achilles goes. So let's get up off our chairs and do a little stretch. Let's use this court for right now, and like I said, we'll give them another couple of minutes to see if they're going to show up. While we're getting ready, if you don't mind, you can volunteer and kind of tell me any experience you've got with pickleball or any other racket sport or any other sport in general. And I'll start with Cindy.
Never played sports. As tall as I am, everybody wanted me to, but
You never did?
Really not fortunate.
All right.
For sports. but everybody, I work here.
Okay.
Front desk, and everybody, Dan comes in, all these people come in, and they're always having such a good time. I decided I needed to learn how to play.
Number one rule is have fun. And it actually, if you actually read the pickleball rules, and before we're done with this 5 weeks, I'm going to invite you to actually read the rules, because there are a huge amount of miscommunication and misunderstanding of a lot of the rules. Some of them are very vague, and people will confuse two rules, and there'll be little tiny arguments. There's never big arguments in pickleball, but there'll be times when there'll be some arguments. So reading the rules is kind of important. Gary?
I played sports when I was younger, but nothing pickleball.
All right. Any racket sport at all?
Tennis a little bit.
Okay.
Bob?
Bob?
I played pickleball once with 3 other experienced players, and it was not very pretty. So that was my last attempt at that.
We'll make it pretty. Carol?
Carol, I have only played pickleball a couple times, and I didn't play sports as a kid, but I'm a golfer now.
Okay. Hand-eyes work there.
Dave, I played tennis and paintball.
Is there a ringer? So again, my name is Bill Taylor. The thing that you will all end up learning about me is I have a huge family. I have 10 kids. I have been coaching various sports for 30 plus years, mainly track and field, until I found pickleball. I was a competitive tennis player when I was little, and a swimmer, D1 swimmer at University of Cincinnati. Had to choose between swimming and tennis, and I lived in Portsmouth, Ohio. If you know where that is, there wasn't a lot of, for any of that, back in the 70s, there wasn't a whole lot of either one of it. So I swam at UC, and then I continued to play tennis until 2013 when I was in a facility. 2 things happened to kind of give you my pickleball journey while we're still waiting. I was working on my psychology PhD at the University of West Virginia. Right beside there is, if you've ever heard the term Club Fed, okay, federal prison. There's a federal prison there that's called Club Fed because there are no walls, there are no fences, there's no barbed wire. It's a John F. Kennedy Boys Center is what it was originally built for, and it is where all of the big white-collar criminals go, and their days include, what I found out was playing pickleball, playing golf, having TV, big movies. It is technically a prison, but it is the lowest group.
This is in Cincinnati?
This is in West Virginia, Morgantown, West Virginia. So my PhD dissertation was on crisis decision making and the lack of or suppression of intuition. So I interviewed 100 of these guys that made these huge mistakes, and they could track it back to one decision they made. All right, long story short, while this is going on, I see these guys out here with wooden paddles like that, playing what I thought was something they made up because they had these small tennis courts and they were out there just pounding the ball back and forth at each other as hard as they possibly could. And you had guys my age, this is 14, 15 years ago, so guys in their late 40s, early 50s, and you had these young, nonviolent drug dealers out there playing against them, and it was the first time I saw any type of unification through pickleball. So you had people that would never have been in a room together playing a sport. Finished all of that with all these interviews and came back to Ohio and went back to playing tennis, and really had, I kind of was in my brain, I'd heard the name, had no idea it was a sport yet, and went back to playing tennis. In Scarborough East, if any of you have been out there, the tennis club, it's a facility kind of like this where they have those big posts there, but they've got one of those that's opaque across everything in the room. And I went for a ball and obviously went too far, like I talked about, doing something I shouldn't have, and went like this to stop myself and hit one of those poles, and I snapped my wrist completely off. It was just hanging there. So I couldn't lift a tennis racket for months, but they had just started playing, again, pickleball, and I go, wait, I saw this, I didn't think it was a real game. And I could pick up a pickleball paddle. Since then, that was 2014, I have not played tennis more than a dozen times, and I have played and won over 100 pickleball tournaments. I retired from my real job a couple of years ago and started the nonprofit Ninja Pickleball, and have been giving lessons and playing tournaments all over the country. The only sales pitch I'm going to give you is, while I am a sponsored player for Selkirk, and I can get you a discount on Selkirk stuff, I'm not a sales rep for them. Everybody's paddle is a good paddle, so I played with Yola, I played with Selkirk, I played with Franklin, I played with Onyx. Selkirk happens to pay me to play their stuff, so I play with their paddles. The sport itself is growing tremendously. When I started really playing in my first tournament in 2014, it was the fastest growing sport that no one had heard of. And when COVID hit, it started to blossom. If any of you know the original story where pickleball came from, raise your hand. The first lesson I will tell you is going to be a lot more talking and a lot more discussing and a lot more going over rules than we are on the court. Before we're done with these lessons, you will be able to play with the group that was here in the morning. I guarantee you that. You may not win, but you'll be able to play with them. In some instances, if you pick up what I will try to share with you, you'll probably be able to beat some of them. If you've seen people play, I call it serve-return badminton. That is, generally I'm athletic, I can put my hands and my paddle on the ball, and the ball never touches the ground in between after those first two shots. If you get to higher level pickleball, you find that the court itself shrinks. And I'm glad that I don't have a lot of people that have played a whole bunch, because have any of you heard what this is called? All right, that's not what it is. And all of my kids that I teach, if they say that word, or if I say it, I have to do 10 push-ups. All right, I won't make you do push-ups, but it is the non-volley zone. That's the real term for it. And by calling it that, you will know what you can and can't do if you're across this line. A volley is hitting the ball out of the air. That's the only thing you can't do if you're across this line, is hit the ball in the air. Everything else is free game.
Ever? You can never hit it in there?
You can never hit the ball in the air. If it bounces, you can stand right here all game long. If it's in the air, you have to be here. I'm jumping way ahead of myself, but if you get a beautiful ball hanging right here and you hit that hard overhead and you go like this and you fall into here and you touch that line, it is a fault. So anytime you volley the ball, you cannot touch that line. That's one of the big rules. Other than that, you can go in there anytime you want. And believe me, the pros do. The ball, you'll have 50, 60, 70 ball rallies where they're just hitting it back and forth in here until someone makes a mistake. All right, that is when you get into really high-level pickleball. To go back, how many of you have kids? I have 10. If you beat me, you win. All right, I do have 10 kids. Back in the early 60s, there was a senator and two of his friends that in summer vacation, they would go out to an island in Seattle. It's rainy, they've got kids have to stay inside. They want the kids outside because they just wanted to enjoy their vacation. There wasn't anything for them to do because everything else was too muddy. They had an old badminton court in their backyard. It was kind of a cinder, if you guys remember cinder tracks, it was kind of a hard cinder. They went into the garage, they found two ping pong paddles, they found the wiffle ball, and there was a volleyball net up or badminton net up. They said, here, go play. A couple hours later, the kids are not back inside. And this is a true story. Kids are not back inside. They go out, and the kids had taken the net and lowered it down, and they had made up their own game. The parents go, that looks kind of fun. Apparently, that whole summer, the kids never got to go back on the court because the parents started doing it. All right, that was the start of pickleball. There are several stories about how the name come about. There's a story about a dog. The dog story is not true. There was a dog named Pickles that was part of this family. It happened after it was named. The mother of the senator was a competitive crew racer. She was on a team and they would go to tournaments, and at every tournament they would always have a couple of extra players, and they would make up like a eighth boat from players from multiple different schools, and they called that the pickle boat. And she felt that since there was basically some badminton, there was some tennis, there was some ping pong, that it should be called pickleball. That's where the actual real name came from the people that actually did it. Grew a little bit in the 70s, PE, they had you could order the wooden paddles, you could go play, tried to get into high schools. And it kind of took off a little bit, but then it kind of just hung around. As that age group got a little older, all of a sudden started with the 55 and over group, and it took off. Now you've got, pro endorsements, you've got it growing. If you watch any of it on TV, there's huge money in it now. Again, we are opening a 17 indoor court facility in Worthington. Pickle and Chill's here in town, they're great people there. Pickle Shack up in Delaware, and then every city is trying to catch on and build as many courts as they can because everybody can play it. It's easy to learn, hard to master, and you can get on there with a group of kids and have fun. People our age have a blast. At Lifetime, I'm currently the head pro at Lifetime in this area, and the one story I will tell you about the unification factor is the day after the attack in Israel, I had two different age Muslim guys, an 80-year-old Jewish lady and a 12-year-old Asian girl out there having an absolute blast, and it just hits you that isn't that the way the world should work? If we could work it all out over a pickleball game, it would be much easier, but it's a sport that I fell in love with, and hopefully we'll continue to play competitive for quite a while. That's my pickleball story. Any questions on that before we get into the hard stuff? Because it looks like we are not going to get our other two people today. More than you wanted to know?
No, it was good.
Yep, that's kind of the deal. What I'd like to do is, since we all really are, we're pretty much in that beginner phase, I'm going to start with the basic rules.
Oh, there you go. Oh, there we go.
You're here.
Sorry.
Why?
So you have more paddles?
That's fine. I have tons of paddles. Yep. There'll be a quiz later. You may fail parts of it. Drop the paper, ma'am.
Thank you.
I'm Bill.
Hi, Bill, I'm Chris.
Perfect timing. Chris and Craig. So I just gave the whole story of where pickleball came from. Over the course of the next 5 weeks, you'll probably hear it again. We did go around and kind of talk about, you all right? Take a deep breath.
Yes.
Okay, it's pickleball, it's fine. Sports background. Any tennis, ping pong, a little bit of everything?
Love it, but not a pro at all.
Have you played pickleball before?
Yes.
Okay. No. All right.